All right, so our pizza balls have had about 2 hours to warm up at room temperature. Come to closer look over here, you can see these have, definitely pumped up a bit due to the yeast rise. And just do a little comparison. Here is another dough ball fresh from the fridge. You can see it's a little bit flatter, looks a little sad, not quite as, taut and smooth as our fresh or warmed up dough balls over here. Also at this point, our oven has had a chance to preheat. And just kind of show you how I have my oven set up. I run this on broil, like I was saying, and I actually do a combination of in the oven and in the broiler drawer. The reason being is that I realize my pizza stone does better to cook in the bottom, but it doesn't cook the top of the pizza as fast. So I can kind of balance an even cook of getting a nice crisp bottom from the pizza stone up here, and then letting it finish in the bottom to make sure the top has a nice direct blast of heat from the broiler. If you have the available option to use a broiler, I strongly recommend that. The difference being is if your broiler is in your main oven compartment, will be different than my setup. So if you come in here, you can see I have my stone on the bottom there with some foil, which is a little hack I figured out for my oven. But if you have a heat up in the top where the broiler is, you plant your stone up the top, so you can just kind of switch the boiler on and get the top nice and heated. So my oven, because I have some foil here to keep the heat down lower and confined, is up to about 760 degrees Fahrenheit. This is sort of a not normal heat, so your cook time might be a little bit longer than mine. But if you can get your stone to about 500 degrees, that's pretty good. And then under here, my broiler drawer where I have my pizza steel, I have this up to 745 degrees. Although I think it might be technically hotter down here, the stone does a little bit better of a job transferring heat from the bottom, at least, not overcooking the top. So let's get into actually making the pizza now. So what we need to do first is lightly flour a clean work surface, such as over here. And then you can take one of your dough balls and just kind of plop it right down there. I can do a roll upside down too to get a little bit of flour on top. Now, one of the tricks is you kind of want to not disturb the air too much. We don't want it to be so bubbly that it kind of poofs up into like a bowl almost in your oven. So the way I do it is I kind of slap the middle to kind of push the air out to the outside where the crust will be. And then if you wanted to work this by hand, which I don't do too often with this dough because I think it's better to do a flat crust personally, you can then start stretch it out by hand, etc., doing that method, and letting gravity eventually kind of helping stretch it out. But what I prefer to do is actually just to roll it out with a rolling pin. Wood is usually better for working with bread doughs, but if you have a glass or stone, you can do that as well. If you don't have a rolling pin, you can always use a wine bottle that you can move the label on and kind of clean off all the glue. So I just lightly flour my rolling pin as well. Roll it out. It's going to take a few turns to get it stretched the size that we're looking for. But when rolling this dough out at 290 grams for the dough ball, you'll be good if you can get this to be about 14 inches, is sort of my target is, which should be roughly the size of my pizza peel. Yeah, so this is not a traditional way to do like a Neapolitan pizza, but I think as I mentioned earlier, it's very difficult to do a Neapolitan pie in a conventional home oven because Neapolitan pies need to be baked at like 1,000 degrees where the bake time is 1 minute, and that's where it kind of benefits from being hand tossed to have those nice bubbles that don't sort of overform, but just kind of have the nice plump crust that you're used to. And sometimes it's a little hard to work at kind of do cheat, just kind of pick it up and stretch it out by hand. You can see this dough because it's on the drier side, not too wet. It's very easy to work, so you can also hand stretch it a little bit as well. And that's pretty good. You can kind of see if you hold it up to the light, you can kind of see through it. It's a little bit transparent. That's what you're looking for. All right. So now that we have our dough stretched out to the size that we want, the next part to do is to assemble it. This is where a lot of novice pie makers make a big mistake for their first pie is they think I'm ready to go. The thing is, you don't want to start constructing your pizza until you have it on the vessel that you're going to use to transfer it to the oven. So in this case, I'm going to grab my pizza peel and get ready to go. So people are also scared that things are going to stick to their pizza peel. Some people say to use cornmeal or something that's like a ball bearing almost. I used to do that, but I don't really like the way it kind of sticks to the crust. Also, it leaves a lot of kind of weird residue to clean out of your oven, which is annoying. So you can get by just using flour. It doesn't add any weird texture to your pizza, and it doesn't really dirty your oven because it'll just burn off really fast. So we toss it on here. Before you start putting any toppings on, give it a shake. You want to be able to move nice and freely around like that because that'll make sure you have a nice, easy way to transfer it to your oven. If you don't have a pizza peel, you could try using the back of a cookie sheet of some sort, put on some parchment paper, and just kind of slide the parchment paper onto your steel. So once we have our dough on the peel, nice and smooth, easy to slide off, we can then apply our sauce. I just use a regular kitchen spoon. Come a little closer, take a close look at this. And you don't want to over sauce the pizza, so I kind of use maybe 3 or 4, I think, spoonfuls, and like that. Give it a nice round. You don't want it to be too soggy and have too much, but you do need to wait on it from the sauce because if you don't have enough sauce, it kind of can bubble up too much and look kind of weird and disorient your pizza toppings. So have a little bit base there, and the weight of the cheese will also kind of help it from bubbling up too much as well. So once your pie looks like that, you're ready for the next cheese. I personally prefer to put the Parmesan on first, so I'll give it a little bit of a sprinkle here, like that. And then next we'll go on to the mozzarella. Now, one thing you can talk about was sort of the size of the mozzarella. I think some people, say, I just want to cut this giant ball in half, and these giant slices of mozzarella look beautiful. I don't recommend it. You should definitely use smaller things because in conventional ovens, not too hot, so it doesn't really spread out as much. And sometimes you see these kind of like really thick clumps of mozzarella that doesn't spread very well on a homemade pizza. So I prefer chopping it into much smaller slices, such as this, maybe like only as wide as like 2 fingers, and spread them out like so. And again, I would say don't overdo it. It's going to spread out a little bit. And I like to see a little bit of, red in my finished pie as well, peeking through. So I would say for your first pizza, just go light on the cheese. You probably are going to use more than you need anyways. So we'll do something a little bit like that. Next, we'll do a little topping here. Pepperoni. Followed by some of our pepper. All right. Give it another shake to hope it's loose. We're looking good here, and we'll move to the oven. So let's come over here, slide open the door, get the steel pike, 3/4 of the way in, give it a shake, slide it off, and you're good to go. All right, so for this pizza, I'm going to give it 1 minute in the top compartment and then 4 minutes in the broiler drawer. This is sort of where, you really just need to experiment to learn how your oven works. I did a lot of pies in the top compartment only, found that the bottom would cook a lot faster than the top. When I cooked pies exclusively under the broiler drawer, the top cooked faster than the bottom. So you have to kind of play around with what your timing is for your oven. I would say, though, if you're probably baking at only like 550 degrees of the stone, it's probably going to take 7 minutes. But I'd pull it out at 6 minutes or so just to kind of check to see how it's doing. Maybe give it a turn in case your oven cooks unevenly. We'll take a break now and come back in 5 minutes to see how our pizza looks.